Welcome to Bibliophiles Anonymous, episode 13. I'm Denise.
And I'm Jess.
And today we're really excited because we're reviewing our very first advanced reader's copy.
Yay!
So this is really exciting for me.
Oh, it really was for me too, because I had read the series before you did.
Yeah, I had no idea, and I had no idea what to even expect. So it was really excited to get this book, ahead of schedule and then discover a whole new series that I had no idea about. But before we get started about that, let's start like we always do and talk about what we're reading right now.
Well, I started Night Train to Rigel by Timothy Zahn. I think I've read not even the first chapter. Today I was so busy today. I didn't get to read. I was going to finish Crimson Cross when I got up there from Crimson Frost. I can't talk. I was going to finish that when I got up this morning. My dad woke me up at 10 o'clock and he's like, we're going to do this and this and this and this. And I went from 10 o'clock to about 4:30 before I had a chance to read.
But that's not like you.
No. But I started that. I finally finished all of the Fever series by Karen Marie Moning.
Oh, good.
And wow, it wasn't really one of the books like you were with Feed or like I was with the Regina song, but it really went places that I didn't expect. But it was really, really good. The last book in the series is the best book in the series. It was really good. I'm glad I went ahead and read those. They were very enjoyable. Fluffy, but enjoyable.
Oh, good.
And I think that's it. I took all of my library books back. I didn't finish reading all of them, but I was like, I've got to read Night Train to Rigel. I have got so much stuff that I own that I need to be reading instead of getting stuff out of the library. So when I finish Night Train to Rigel, I'm going to start Graceling by Kristen Kishore because I've heard that it's really, really good. And I've got the first two books. It's a trilogy. And I've got Graceling and Fire. And then the third book is Bitter Blue. But I've heard really good things about them, and I've had the first one for 2 or 3 years. I need to read it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to try, and I need to read Beautiful Creatures by Cami Garcia. And I have so much stuff on my shelf that I own that I need to read instead of checking stuff out of the library. So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to read stuff I own.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. And I still need to finish the Iron Fae series. I may do that instead of Graceling.
Yes, you do need to do that because we need to talk about it more.
And, I kind of said I would finish it by the end of this year, and I don't have much longer.
You're running out of time.
I can read those. I can read one of those in about a day, maybe a day and a half, if I don't do anything else.
They go by pretty quick.
Yeah.
They're really engaging, and they're not that long. I mean, they're not like short and tiny, but they're not that long. So you'll be able to take those down pretty quick.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've spent most of my time this week trying to read the first 3 books in the Mythos Academy series, since we're going to be reviewing book 4 that we got the ARC for. And I've been spending most of my time reading that, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And other than that, I'm still reading Night Train to Rigel like you are, and I'm a little bit further than you. I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting through it, and I think it's because there's a couple other books that I want to read, but since that one's for the book club, I'm going to have to make it more of a priority. But then I'm also still reading Deadline by Mira Grant. I'm going to be reading that one for a while because that one I'm reading with markreads.net, so that's the one that reads like one chapter at a time. And he's reading 2 books, so it's actually 1 chapter every other day. So I'm going to be reading that one for a while.
I would go crazy.
Just stop talking about it.
I would have to read it.
It takes some dedication. And actually, with Feed, which was the first book in the series, I was doing so well until I got to about chapter 25. And that's when the you-know-what hit the fan.
Yeah.
And I was lost. I just had to keep going at that point.
Like, I can't stop here.
Well, that's when the big, huge thing that you don't expect to happen happens. And you sit there. It's one of those experiences where you sit there looking in the book and you're like, what? No. Okay, when I turn the page, that's not going to be what happened. That's just, she's trying to trick us. That's what she's doing. No, that's what happened. How can you do that? That's against the rules. Seriously, I was yelling, that's against the rules when I finished that book. And and Deadline's taken off like a bang too. We're only in like chapter 3 or 4, and all hell's broken loose. She likes doing that apparently.
I'm glad to know I'm not the only one that talks to my books and yells at them.
Okay, see, the problem with me was I finished reading Feed when I was on my lunch hour at work. And I had to spend the rest of the day walking around with my eyes, like, widened in shock, and people asking me, "Are you okay?" And I couldn't explain to them what was wrong, because they would think I was crazy. So I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of having a weird day.
That's one way to explain it. It's a weird day.
And they just went, "Oh, okay," and they left me. I stayed in my office a good part of that day just because I was just sitting there, and I would just sit there for a second. I'd stop, and I'm like staring off into space, and I'm supposed to be looking at like a spreadsheet or something, and I'm just like, what just happened? How did that happen? Seriously, folks, if you like really gripping, suspenseful books, you've got to read that book. I'm going to make you read it, Jess, because I need somebody to talk to about it.
I'm going to read it. I need to look next time I go to the library. I didn't really have time to look the other day when I went. I just went by. They were about to close, and I just went by and took my books back. I need to see if they have those. They have gotten a lot of stuff like that in over the past few months.
I'll tell you what, if they don't have it for some reason, I will mail you my copy to get you to read it, because I need somebody else to read it. I need somebody else to understand. Because right now, nobody does.
Look, that may be one of those things when I read it and I get to that part you're talking about, I may be calling you and being like, oh my God.
Yeah, as long as it's not like 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, no, obviously I wouldn't call you at that hour. Just because I'm awake doesn't mean the rest of the world is.
Yeah. Well, actually, I might be. It's just,
I love it when books do that, though, when they actually affect you in some way.
Well, that's one of the reasons that I love to read so much, is to find the books like that do that to you, and that's just the mark of a really talented writer.
Yeah.
Because, if they can't do that, if they can't draw you in that deeply into the story, then they're not doing their job.
Oh.
And most of the authors I really enjoy. That's why I enjoy them, is because they do that. They bring you into this whole other world, and it doesn't have to be a fantasy world. It can be, another city, another state, another school, another college, whatever.
Whoa.
But if it can draw you in that good, then that's why I enjoy reading it.
You'll have to excuse my yawns. I woke up early this morning and told that I had to move stuff.
Yeah.
So
that's all right.
It's 8 o'clock and I'm yawning.
Well, you're tired, and I think I'm coming down with a cold, so just as a warning, the sound quality might not be as good in this episode.
Or we might be a little punch drunk.
Well, it's all right.
Most people wouldn't know the difference between that and us normally, so.
Also true. Okay, well, let's get ahead and get started with the Mythos Academy books, and in particular, Crimson Frost, which is the book we got an advanced reader copy of. And this was, like I said before, this was really exciting because I've never gotten an ARC for any book. And this was a series that I had never heard of. And it's always fun to discover new series and new writers like this, and especially when you get to do it and get the opportunity to read the next book early before it's out actually in the bookstores.
Yes. And it actually comes out Christmas Eve, I think. Comes out December 24th, I think.
That's what it says on Goodreads, so yeah. So,
you need to read the series. It's really good. Okay, for those of you who liked Percy Jackson, it's kind of like, and I know a lot of you have probably read the House of Night books. It's kind of like Percy Jackson meets House of Night, except no vampires and all mythology stuff.
Right.
It's
sort of.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, it starts off, the first book in the series is called Touch of Frost. And this is the Mythos Academy series by Jennifer Estep. And in Touch of Frost, we meet this girl named Gwen Frost. And she attends this school called the Mythos Academy. And this was something that at first caught me off guard a little bit, because the characters that go to the Mythos Academy are not just regular people.
Nope.
They are descended from all these different ancient warriors. Like, there's this guy, this popular guy in the school named Logan, and he's a Spartan. And there's the band geek that she becomes friends with, and he's a Celt. And another friend that she meets, she's a Valkyrie.
Yeah.
And so, at first, when I started reading it, it said, like, all these different mythologies kind of coming together. And when I first started reading it, I was like, how is that going to work?
But it does.
But it does.
Well.
That's the thing. That's the thing. And the reason that they're at this special school is so that they can develop their fighting abilities, and some of them also have magical abilities like Gwen does, in order to help defeat the agents of Loki. Which is the... Go ahead.
This is a completely different take on Loki than I've ever seen before.
Me too.
Normally Loki is just a trickster. He's not evil.
Well, he has kind of a dark side to him. I mean, he's not the nicest trickster, but yeah, I know what you're saying. I mean, he's usually kind of seen as, oh, you know, that crazy Loki, he's over there causing trouble. He's not seen as like the epitome of all evil.
Like, oh my God, that crazy Loki, he's going to take over the world and kill everyone.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way that he's portrayed here. And there was the Chaos War, I believe is what it's called.
Yes. Where
all of the gods in all of the different pantheons joined forces to go after Loki and imprison him and protect the world from him, basically.
Which, you would think by now all these heroes that learned that imprisoning the bad guy is never going to work. It's a temporary solution at best.
Yeah, they do always seem to make that mistake, don't they?
Yes, and it's not just in books, it's in video games too.
Yeah, and they think that they're being all noble, but no, you really just ought to kill the bad guy. That would save you a lot of trouble.
Yes, never leave a bad guy behind you, whether he's locked up in a prison or what. Just kill him and be done with it. But no,
right.
We wouldn't have this story if they'd killed Loki, so.
Okay, then fine. There's a good reason for not killing Loki. Then we get to read a really cool book series. There you go.
Yeah.
So back to Gwen. She is attending Mythos Academy, but she's not one of these ancient mythological peoples. She's a gypsy, which is another thing that kind of took me by surprise, because when I'm thinking about warrior peoples, I don't think of the gypsies.
Right.
Usually.
But her magic is so cool.
She does have really cool magic.
She calls it psychometry. Basically,
right.
What it is, if she touches anything with her bare skin, she can tell where it's been, who's touched it, what they were feeling when they were touching it, which can be good and bad. She makes a lot of money finding lost objects for people.
Right, because she can go into like their dorm rooms or wherever they had it last and just kind of, she mentions looking for people's cell phones all the time because they keep losing their cell phones, and so she'll just like touch the desk where they usually lay their cell phone, and she'll get a flash of insight as to where it is. And so, yeah, she's been making bank on doing that. Because the other thing about all the kids there is that since they come from such noble and ancient families, they also all happen to be very, very wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And Gwen kind of feels left out because she isn't, or doesn't think she is. Find out a little bit later that they have some.
Yeah, they just wanted her to have a normal life.
Yeah.
I would
and
not...
That's another plan that doesn't always work out so well.
No. It's like, look, if we've got, quite a bit of money, please don't hide it from me and make me suffer. Let me know.
Well, and because she spends her entire life not realizing that she has this destiny, and then has to try and deal with learning it all at once. It's like, just let her grow up and know what's going on. That tactic never works well. You always have the person completely blindsided and completely overwhelmed, and, well, we thought it was for your own good. We wanted you to have a normal life.
We wanted you to have a normal life, but turns out, and we thought when we finally sent you here that you would have time to learn this, but, whoops, sorry, the bad guy's here now.
Right. It's not a good tactic.
No.
Normal life is overrated. Let her know what's going on.
For real. It really does. I mean, you have several different pantheons represented. I mean, Loki was, what, Norse?
Yeah, he was in the Norse pantheon.
And then you have Nike, who, hello, Greek.
Mm-hmm.
You've got, and there's others mentioned too, but I don't really, it's been a while since I've read book 1 and 2, and in book 3 and 4, really the only ones that are talked about that much are Nike and Loki.
Well, they mention a couple of the Roman gods. They even mention some of the Native American gods like Coyote and,
mm-hmm.
and that sort. So it's really all of the different pantheons around the world that are represented, which is really, especially if you're a mythology buff. Like, I used to love when we would do the mythology section in school.
Oh, yes, I did too.
It was always so much fun and so interesting. And, even though you know that it's probably not real, I always used to pretend that it was, like, real history, that stuff really did happen, and, people just pretended that it didn't for some reason. I don't know. I was a weird kid. But here it actually is real, so there you go.
And it's real up there where you live.
Yeah, it takes place probably, I would say maybe a 4-hour drive away from my city, so I could go up there and look for mythological bad guys if I wanted to. I'm not going to. I'm not going to, because I'm bad with a sword.
Yeah, I don't think I would want to have any run-ins with reapers.
No. But so Gwen has a lot of adventures. In the first book, she has somebody, a murder plot that she has to try and solve. And then in the second book, she's trying to learn more about how to fight and how to just deal with this whole big dump of responsibility that's landed on her head, basically.
Yeah.
And
okay. We are going to have to mention spoilers since we're sort of jumping in with book 4 here.
Yeah.
And
so
we won't make a habit of this. It's just I saw that this was available as an ARC, and I really, 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 really wanted it because I had read the others and they were really good. So if you don't want to hear any spoilers, then you might want to hit pause and go find the books and read them and then come back. But she gets this responsibility because she finds out that she's Nike's champion.
And not only does she find that out, but she finds out that her mother and her grandmother were champions of Nike before her.
Yeah.
We also need to point out that her mother, before the series opens, her mother has died.
Yeah.
At first she thinks that it was in a car accident, but then she finds out that that's not the case.
Nope. Something hinky was going on.
Yeah, and so
that's kind of what leads up to her getting sent to Mythos Academy, is her mom getting killed and everything, and she lives with her grandmother, and her grandmother makes money by telling fortunes. Her gypsy magic is that she can see the future.
Right.
I don't remember.
Which makes...
Her mom had the psychometry, didn't she?
I think so.
I think
so. I don't remember exactly, but...
I don't either, and it's been longer since I've read them than it has been since you read them. But,
yeah, I believe she did.
But yeah, her mom gets killed, and she gets sent to Mythos, and of course, you mentioned Logan earlier. Of course, Gwen thinks that Logan is just hung the moon, which I can't really say anything, because I kind of do too. He's another one of those that I just fell in love with.
Well, you don't really think that at first. I thought he was kind of a jerk at first.
Yeah.
Because he's known as the most gorgeous guy at school. He's kind of known, she keeps calling him a man whore, because he's, tried to sleep with or has slept with nearly all of the popular girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so Gwen doesn't really have any interest in him. She's like, okay, yeah, he's nice to look at, but ew, no. And eventually she kind of learns that there's a lot more to him than that. And his backstory is really kind of sad.
Yeah, it really is.
Do we want to tell them what it is or not?
No, I think we can get by without telling them that one.
Okay, yeah, that's something that you can discover for yourself.
That one's sort of a subplot.
Yeah, and, you find out that he's not just this cocky, arrogant so-and-so. He really has kind of reasons for why maybe he's drowning his sorrows, so to speak.
Yeah, which becomes all that much more interesting when we get to book 4 and you find out some things about his stepmother.
Yeah, well, and his dad, too, because he has a really strange relationship with his father.
Yeah, a very strained relationship.
Yeah, and it's really unfortunate.
And his dad...
It did sound like that things were going to improve.
Yeah. His dad seemed to really, really have it out for Gwen. Okay, so she has all these adventures in these other books. She does all this stuff. She finds out she's Nike's champion, and she has to try to stop the Reapers and the Reapers are trying to kill her, because apparently Nike is like the most powerful goddess, and she is like Loki's biggest opposition. And you get to book 3, and they free Loki from his prison, and in book 4, the story starts off with Gwen being arrested and accused of aiding the Reapers in freeing Loki.
And the thing that really gets you is that in book 3, you learn who Loki's champion is.
Yes.
And that's the one who is accusing Gwen of being the one that freed him.
Yeah. Not only do you find out who she is, you find out some other things that this Loki's champion did.
Right.
That made me want to kill her.
Yeah. It was really, and that's another thing we're not going to give away because, whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to take this opportunity. When Gwen finds out she's Loki's champion, it's because she picks up this sword and it talks to her. And apparently it's the sword of Nike's champion. And his name is Vic. And I love Vic. He's awesome.
Vic is hilarious.
Especially,
basically, if you went into battle with Vic, you have this really sarcastic, bloodthirsty assistant, as it were, because he has the hilt of the sword has his face, or half of his face, and I think that's going to be significant somehow.
I do too, especially when they were talking about the ritual, and she said that the way Vic sounded when he was talking about it. I think that's going to be important. I think we're going to have to find out. We're going to find out more about the swords, definitely.
Because the first thing I thought when it said that it had half of the face carved into the sword, I'm like, well, where's the other half?
Yeah.
There has to be something there. But this half of the face in the sword talks pretty much nonstop and gives its opinions whether you want them or not.
Yes. And he's very, very, very bloodthirsty.
Oh, yeah.
Kill the Reaper, kill the Reaper.
Yeah, he thinks that basically Vic thinks that any moment spent not killing Reapers is a moment wasted.
Yes. Never mind learning how to actually fight so that you don't die. Let's just go kill Reapers. This is a waste of time.
Yeah, he just wants to jump right in there, whereas Gwen's more like, I fall down a lot, and I am not that strong, and I just learned about all this stuff, so maybe I could actually try and figure out how to defend myself first. And Vic's all like, no, let's go and jump into the fight. And she's like, no, we're gonna wait.
Yeah, Gwen is like me. I fall down a lot, so I fell down today. But yeah, I really liked the series, and I think what attracted me to it was all of the mythology aspects to it, because I always loved, I was like the only person in my class that actually enjoyed doing mythology. You know, most of the kids in my class in high school, when we did the semester on mythology, they were like, oh my god, this is so dumb. Why do we have to do this? And I'm like, what is wrong with you? This is so cool.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I always dreamed that, well, maybe this stuff was real, or if it's not real now, maybe it used to be real. And so building a whole book series around the fact that all of the myths, and not just one set of myths, but all of them are real. And they all work together. I just thought that was really clever, the way that she made it all work out.
Yeah, it really was. And, I got the first 2 at the library, and I read them fairly quickly. Well, the library didn't have book 3. Well, I finally got a hold of book 3, and I had not read it yet. And then I signed us up for NetGalley and saw book 4, and I was like, oh my god, Denise may kill me for getting book 4 in a series that she hasn't read, but she'll like them. I know she will.
That's okay. And they go by pretty fast once you get into the story, and you're like, okay, what's next? Okay, how does this connect to that? And okay, as far as favorite characters, I have to say that probably one of my favorite characters is Nicodemus.
Yeah, I like Nicodemus.
And I don't know why, he's the librarian at this school. And their library is one that I wish I could live in, okay? It's huge, and it has all of these, not just all these amazing books, but it also has all of these artifacts, and they could be different ancient weapons or just anything that you can think of that came from, one of these ancient myths. It's sitting there in the Library of Antiquities. And Gwen has to work there. They gave her a job there so that they thought it would help her get more involved in school, because a lot of the students would hang out in the library. And it didn't really work because they would just ignore her. But Nicodemus, I I knew right from the beginning that there had to be more to him.
Yeah.
Because pretty much he spent most of his time yelling at Gwen for being late to work and just being really, really kind of prissy. That's not a good way to describe it,
I think
but,
that's actually a word that Gwen used to describe him at some point, was prissy.
Yeah. But, he was very concerned with everything being just so, and being neat and being proper and tidy and everything else. And, I mean, as a librarian, you probably have to, but he kind of took it to the utmost extremes.
Yeah.
But I knew almost immediately that there had to be something more to him, and I was right.
Yes, and that's kind of where I figured that was going to go.
See, I had no idea.
I was like, when I finally realized that he probably knew her, I was like, I bet.
Yeah, we're not going to give that one away either.
No.
Sorry.
You'll just have to
You're going to have to go read it.
We have to make this tantalizing so you'll actually go get the books and read them.
Yes.
But,
yes.
And things got a lot better in this book. I mean, he was still himself, he was still a perfectionist, and Gwen's destroyed the library, twice now? 3 times? Something like that. She's completely destroyed the library, and she destroyed the Chris Coliseum, and she destroyed the amphitheater where the concert was going to happen.
But in her defense, she didn't mean to.
No, and she was, defending herself or saving somebody, or, was attacked by Reapers.
It happens.
The followers of Loki are called the Reapers. Kind of, and they wear masks, and it kind of makes me think of the Death Eaters.
A little bit, yeah. I could see that.
I'm like, and the description of Loki with half of his face burned away sound like any other fantasy gods you've ever read?
Maybe just that one.
I was like, okay, has this woman read David Eddings and totally stole Torak, or what?
I know. It was very similar to Torak in some ways. Especially when she kept saying that the one side of his face was completely perfect and beautiful, and then the other side was just like this horrifying disaster. And the one eye that was blue and the one eye that was red.
Yeah.
Didn't Torak have his one eye that was always on fire?
Yeah. Well, it was blue fire though, because it was the fire of the orb.
Okay.
It was blue flame, but still,
But still, same thing.
Yeah, similarities. And like, you must have read Eddings, because, yeah.
We caught that.
I see what you did there. You've read Eddings and you've read J.K. Rowling, because you've got Death Eaters and you've got Torak, so. But
hey, it makes a really cool combination.
It really does. And the Reapers, the Reapers can be anybody. More than once since Gwen has been at Mythos Academy, there have been students that were Reapers.
Right.
And which I want to know how they're doing that, because the Sphinxes that guard the campus are not supposed to allow Reapers. They're supposed to know. So how are the students getting past that? Well,
that's just one more thing to add suspense, because that while the Sphinxes are powerful, and we haven't seen exactly what they do. Pretty much all they do is they look like statues, and they're sitting there, and you have to walk past them when you go through the gate to get into the school. And Gwen says several times that she can kind of feel like a presence every time that she's left, because she sneaks out to go visit her grandmother all the time. And if, I had a grandmother that lived down the road and baked as many really, really good, gooey desserts as her grandma did, I'd sneak out too.
Yeah.
But all the things she's describing was like, I want a piece of that, pumpkin cheesecake roll.
Yes.
I want some of that.
I just want or the chocolate chip cookies, or anything that she's made.
Yeah. And because she keeps describing it in great detail, and I'm just like, oh God.
I'm like, I'm going to gain weight just reading about this. Come on now.
You've made me hungry now, and there's nothing here to eat. It's not fair. But anyway, so she said that she could feel the Sphinxes like almost judging her, just because she's sneaking off campus to go visit her grandma.
Yeah.
And
because most of these kids, their parents and grandparents, whatever, don't live that close. Right. It's not just hop a bus and go visit.
So yeah, it just makes me wonder what else they can do. And I think we got to learn a little bit about some of the statues, because there's the other statue that was guarding the sword that they ultimately used to free Loki.
The Helheim dagger.
Yes.
The griffins.
Mm-hmm.
At the library.
And she could kind of talk to it, and it sort of responded in a way.
Sort of.
So,
it responded enough that it kind of saved her ass.
Yeah.
In book 4.
Yeah, it's a pretty, I definitely think that all of the statues are going to be a major thing.
Yeah, they're going to be important.
In the next book.
And the weapons, like Vic, because we know now that there's more than just him. There's Lucretia.
Right, and that's the sword that Loki's champion is carrying.
And apparently her and Vic know each other and hate each other with the passion of 1,000 fiery suns.
Yeah, you could tell.
I mean, you know, he's like, I'm going to cut you to... Oh, he called her some of the funniest names.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that... Yeah, it's good. There's definitely going to be the ritual that they were going to do in this book.
Oh, to Logan?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That whole thing, and like I said, the way Vic was talking about that ritual is going to be important later on, and the swords they have to be very important. I think.
I would think so.
And the statues. I want to know more about the statues, and I want to work in the Library of Antiquities.
Yes. I'll even work with Nicodemus, and he can yell at me all he wants.
Yes, because unlike Gwen, I will never be late.
No, I'd be early every day.
Yeah, I'll be like, okay, what do I get to do today? What do I get to play with today? But yeah, they're really, really good. I mean, especially if you're a fan of mythology, be it, you know, the Norse mythology or the Greek mythology or the Native American, seeing how they make it all work together is really good.
Yeah.
And I have read book 4 early. I want book 5 now.
Yeah. Well, I think book 5, I think it's called Midnight Frost. And according to Goodreads, it's supposed to come out next year.
Ooh, maybe we can, you know, get an ARC of that one too.
That would be awesome.
This makes me want to visit Asheville and see, you know, some of these places she's talking about. I'm like, yeah. Because, see, when me and Holly went to Oklahoma, we were going to go through Broken Arrow, which is where the House of Night books are set. It was only, it wasn't far we were in Tulsa, and Broken Arrow is like maybe an hour south of Tulsa.
Uh-huh.
And we were going to go to Broken Arrow and go to Utica Square, which is the mall that all the kids in the House of Night books go to and shop at all the time. So I was like, it would be cool to go by there and see this place that she's writing about, you know. But we didn't get to.
Well, if you ever make plans to come to Asheville, let me know and I'll meet you over there.
Oh, I'm going to... Okay, one of my friends has decided that we need to drive up the East Coast.
Okay.
I'm like, as long as I get to pick a few of the stops, I'm okay with that. But I would really like to come up there anyway around May for Carolina Rebellion, but that'll probably never happen.
Well, you never know.
See, what I need to do is pick a time when Lynam's going to be up there, and I need to come visit you and drag you to a Lynam show.
That would be fine. I'm not going to fight you on that.
Be like, look, these are those crazy people that make music that I really like. And they're going to be like, why are you here? You live in Alabama. You're down there from where we're from. Why are you here?
Well, anyway, going back to the book series, I think our final word on it would be we loved it and we think you should read it.
Yes. 2 thumbs, definitely up. I'm pretty sure
yes.
I gave book 4 5 stars on Goodreads.
Yes, you did.
It was really good. She writes really good characters. It's easy to connect with Gwen.
Yeah.
And I guess a part of that is because I kind of understand that whole outsider, not really a part of the group thing.
Right.
Because that's kind of, you know, where I was in school. I was always kind of on the fringes of everything. I wasn't really part of any group. I was the nerdy kid who walked around with my nose in a book all the time.
Yeah, I was too.
And I went to a very small school, so I was like the only one. So, you know, I kind of understand her. I'm not like these people. I'm different. So it was really easy for me to connect with her.
Yeah. And you know, getting this big responsibility that you don't know if you can handle. I think everybody's had that feeling. Maybe not to the extent that Gwen did, but everybody's had that feeling.
Yeah. Not everybody gets told, hey, look, you're my champion. You have to save the world. Yeah. I don't think anybody's really had that kind of responsibility, but you do. You have those times where you feel like, that the universe is piling more on you than you can handle.
Yeah.
And hey, she gets Logan eventually, and I'm still
and hopefully she'll get him back.
Yeah. I was so upset about that. So upset. I was like,
well,
no, can't do that. Not allowed. But
well, yeah, he's coming back.
Oh, yeah. Well, if nothing else, her last visitation with Nike and the things she learned there kind of gives away that he will be back.
Yeah. You can't write a character like Logan and then just have him disappear.
No.
I mean, you can have him killed in battle, and I hope that doesn't happen. But you can't just make them disappear.
Mm-mm. Not
because of how they feel about something. That's against the rules.
Yes.
You're not allowed to do that, Jennifer Estep. Okay? You can't just make him disappear. He has to come back.
Yes, because we have to have our Logan. We need him.
So there.
I mean, he's the best Spartan at Mythos Academy. He's the best fighter. He's like, they need him to fight the next Chaos War, because apparently Chaos War Round 2 is coming.
Yep.
And
whether you want it or not.
Yep. So, and he's going to have to be there because they're going to need him because he's such a good fighter. And I love the way she describes the Spartans, that they're those warriors that could pick up anything and know how to kill you with it.
Right.
I mean, they could pick up a bottle of nail polish and instinctively know how to kill somebody with it.
Right. I thought that was funny.
I love that. I was like, I want to see him kill somebody with a paper towel.
Or with a marshmallow.
Or a marshmallow. Yes, that would be awesome. I want to kill somebody with a marshmallow. That would be great. Just anything that's not a sword or, a typical weapon.
Right.
So, but yeah, he's definitely going to be back. You can tell the way she wrote that he's definitely going to be back, and that there's definitely going to be more books. I don't think one more is going to do it. I think there'll have to be at least a couple of more.
Yeah, I'm looking at the little excerpt or the blurb here on Goodreads, and it doesn't sound like that's going to be the end. I could be wrong, but it doesn't sound like that's going to be the end.
As long as she knew where she was going with this when she started writing them, it'll be fine. Because you can't write a series that long. You can't drag it out, because if you drag it out too much, it's going to be like, okay, I'm tired of reading these.
Right.
But if she's got a plan and she knows where she's going, then she can probably get 7 or 8 books out of this. Easy.
Yeah.
Without it getting too, okay, I'm tired of reading these, let's try something else now.
Right.
If she
keeps going the way she's going, I don't think that's going to be a problem.
No, it shouldn't be. I mean, I'm sort of starting to get sick of the House of Night book. I've read all of them. They're good. They really are. But it's like, really, we're up to book 8 now, which she said, I remember reading a while back, that there was only going to be 10 of them. So hopefully she'll stop giving us more questions and start answering some of the ones we already have.
I hate when authors do that.
It's like, you can't, but how that... No, you need more than one book to wrap all this up. That's just not possible. So, it's like I said, I'm hoping Jennifer Estep has a plan, and she knows where she's going, she knows how it's going to end, and she doesn't drag it out too far. Because as long as she doesn't drag it out too far, I'll keep reading them.
Yes.
Keep writing them, I'll keep reading them.
So, yeah, definitely. Is that all we're going to say on it then?
I think we've pretty much covered it without... It's hard to do this without giving too much of it away.
Yeah.
But it's definitely go to your library, go to your bookstore, go to Amazon, something. Find these books and read them, because they are really, really good.
Yes, they are. We both enjoyed them, and we think that you guys will too. So that's going to do it for us. We have had a couple of changes here, and if you subscribe to us on iTunes, you will see that if you look at in the iTunes store, there's now 2 different Bibliophiles Anonymous shows, and one of them is going to be gone soon, and the one that this show is on, if you've got this show, you're subscribed to the right one. And if you're listening to this after you've gone through the whole announcement that I just posted, then hi, welcome to the one that's going to be the regular show from now on.
Yeah, we had some issues with our host.
We had a couple of issues, and since I'm not the most tech-savvy person, I kind of ended up resolving them in a backward sort of way. But it worked, and it's eventually going to clear itself up. But There's several different ways you can find our podcast. The best way is to do it on iTunes. And now that we have the new feed set up through there, we'll be able to keep updating it on a regular basis like we've been doing. You can also go to our website. We just started a brand new, pretty new website, and that's at www.bibliophiles-anonymous.com. And that's where we're going to have all of our new episodes announced. We'll also have, sometimes we'll have announcements. Other times we might have polls where we're asking different questions. And that's also a good way that you can contact us and give us feedback about the show, or any comments or any other points on the discussion that you'd like to add. We always like to get reviews either through the website or on iTunes, and you can also email us. And our email address is bibliophiles.podcast@gmail.com.
Yes, and don't forget, you can also find us at the Malorian Tavern, which is www.maltavern.com.
Yeah, and I actually don't think that we've started a thread on this particular series yet, and so we probably need to do that.
Oh, yes, I didn't do that, did I? Whoops.
Because I don't know if anybody else over there has read this.
I don't
this
think
series.
they have. I think, well,
so we'll have to get them to do that.
I think the reason I didn't start one is because we were doing the ARC, and it was book 4.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just skip that one, because next week we're gonna have the Night Train to Rigel by Timothy Zahn.
Right, and we'll have the book club post for that.
Yeah, let's hope I finish the book before then.
Oh, you will. I need to finish it too. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm further along than you are. So, yes, next episode is going to be Night Train to Rigel by Timothy Zahn. So find that book and get started reading it. It's a much more classic sci-fi genre than what we've been previously talking about. So
yeah, and I'm kind of anxious about that, because I don't normally read sci-fi. I read a lot of fantasy, but I've never read a lot of sci-fi.
I've read a little bit, and I enjoy sci-fi, and it's interesting so far. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about it when we get there. And if anybody else wants to join in on that discussion, please email us what you think about that book or about these books that we've talked about today. And you can also find us on Twitter, and that's at BibAnonPodcast. So lots of different ways to join in the discussion, give us feedback, give us book recommendations, or any other questions you have for us about the podcast or the books that we're reading. Anything you want to know, we'd be glad to answer your questions.
Yep. And now, since we're done recording, I'm going to go put my books on my spiffy brand new bookshelf.
Yay!
I'm so excited about that. And then if I can keep myself away from Lord of the Rings online long enough, I may read. But anyway, we will see you guys next week.
Yes, we will.
Bye.
Bye.